All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper pre-party show. Now, when I bought my first rifle was, I think, 2009. I had a little farm in Kentucky and I needed something to handle the chicken pests, not the chickens, but the things that were preying on my chickens, raccoons and possums, things like that. And my first rifle was a Remington. I don't remember the model number, but it was this bolt action 22 LR, which actually was really accurate. And it was a great little firearm to learn on because being that it was a bolt action, it was a lot safer. Basically one pull of the trigger, one shot, have to basically rechamber around. So it was a good little rifle to learn on. Later on, I ended up trading that one in or selling that and getting a Ruger 1022, which I actually like a lot better. But that Remington was my first firearm. Kind of has a special place in my heart. Now I remember when I went to the gun store and I was talking to the owner. I was asking him because I was brand new to firearms. I was asking him about high point firearms. And he kind of rolled his eyes and said, "I wouldn't sell you one." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I wouldn't sell you one. I don't sell plastic in my store. I don't sell Tupperware." Right? Like when you say, I think he did say plastic actually, which is funny because polymer is like this combination of plastics, and there's a lot of firearms that are made with polymer. But I got what he was trying to say. And high point firearms are kind of known for being on the more affordable end of the spectrum. We say it that way. So, after that and like talking to a few other people, I never really gave it any other thought. I don't own a high point firearm. And I hadn't thought about them again, actually, until a video that was made by one of the members of our community recently. It was a response to my 5 firearms for SHTF, and his number 5 on his response was high point. And so I listened to it, and I was kind of listening to the points that this was rural to IC. It was his video. You can check that out later. In fact, if one of the mods wants to go grab that, it's on rural 2ICs. If you got a second, if you don't mind to, we can link that for him in the chat. His response to the 5 firearms for SHTF, he picked high point. And so I listened, and then it made me think about things a little bit differently. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I did a lot of research for this video, so I got some interesting things to tell you about. But folks, if you're brand new to the channel, thank you so much for joining. We did gain a lot of subscribers this week. My 5 SHTF guns video actually has done really well. So thank you. Welcome to all the new subscribers. We only have a couple rules here. No racism, no sexism. Be kind to the moderators. And when I have guests, please be kind to the guests. You can disagree with me. Absolutely fine. You can disagree with other members in the chat. But please, if you're going to disagree, articulate your point. Don't just be like, you're stupid or that's dumb. Explain why you think your point is better. If you can't articulate your point, then don't say anything until you can. Okay, that's it's just some of the rules we have here on my channel. Other than that, we have a good time, and you're welcome to disagree with me in anything I say on here. I'm going to say hi to chat in just a second. I see some of you have already popped in. Just for that AI auditor thing that I'm sure is watching this live stream, because it's a live stream talking about firearms, I'm not going to show any firearms in this video that I have in my area or space right now. Okay. I am going to switch to a couple screens to show pictures of firearms. Okay, these are not firearms that I have here in this room during this live stream. Okay, and I have to say this, unfortunately, because some of our friends have had AI misinterpret things that were just images, really, of firearms on their streams and had their streams killed. So I hope that doesn't happen. But if we suddenly go dead, you know why. It's that YouTube did it, not me. So I'm going to show just a couple little pictures here from other websites, but for the safety of all of my viewers and me, I have no firearms within reaching distance of me, and I will not be grabbing, touching, or showing any firearms during this video, just talking about them. Okay, we clear AI, YouTube, we clear, we good? All right. So stupid that we have to dance around these rules, but here we are. All right, let's go ahead and say hi to everybody in chat. I appreciate everybody that's coming and spending a little bit of your Friday night with me. I have the best audience here on YouTube. Everyone knows that. Scott Hummer, you were the first one in the room. Thank you so much. Southern Tier Prepper, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping out with the moderation. Prepper for the Ages, how are you doing tonight? It's good to see you, my friend. Silverback, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. Yes, actually, I love my logo there. That logo up there in the right-hand corner of your screen was designed by Space Pirate Logos on Instagram. And he can do all kinds of stuff. Like I specifically asked for a very simplified version of my logo. My previous one was a digital fist. I actually like this one better. Not that I have anything against the original design. He did a good job with it. I just wanted something a little bit more simple to, easily putting on business cards, things like that. And it's not too flashy, but it kind of tells a story. So, yep, that's my logo, and I'll be sticking with it for the near future. All right, did I miss anybody? Orlando Prepper, how are you doing tonight? It's good to see you. Appreciate you. And Lazarus Long, how are you doing? Moonsprout, it's good to see you, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Corsair Trainers, how are you doing? I see that you're lurking. Thank you. If you can hear this, Steve, check your email. I just wanted to confirm that date that we had talked about was okay. I heard back from Wayne, but I haven't heard back from you yet. If you get a chance, if you don't mind. Yeah, if you get anything out of value out of tonight's live stream, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to check in the description down below for some products and discount codes that I think you will like. These are products that most of them either I've handpicked out, or I've reviewed, or I've used in my prepping adventures, whether it be out camping, doing walkabouts, or surviving storms. Most of the stuff is stuff that either I'm already using or I've tested, and I give my seal of approval to. Okay, and there's some discount codes down there as well. Sassy Gal Prepping, how are you doing tonight? Appreciate you. Utah Mike, thank you for joining. Cuckvy Farmer, thank you. Appreciate you watching from the People's Republic of Michigan. Thank you. All right. Did I miss anybody? I don't want to miss Texas Joe 3. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Welcome. Wayne Becoming Dangerous, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining in. Sunflower, thank you. Appreciate you. And Wanda, I hope you both are having a good night. Awesome to see all of you. Okay, I'm going to get rolling here. There we go. I got to the bottom of the list. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate this audience. All right, so so high points. So I wanted to think outside the box here, because ever since I had that conversation with that gun store owner that said, he wouldn't sell me a high point because it was plastic or whatever, I never really thought about it before. I mean, I hear jokes about high point and that kind of thing. They're kind of known for being affordable, but does that mean they're bad? I don't know. So I decided to do a lot of research on this. And what I found out was that they've been torture tested, and there's numerous videos on YouTube actually that you can watch. Most of the people from my audience will probably know Demolition Ranch, very, very famous firearms channel. And he torture tested some high points, and there were some other ones as well. I might get to that later on. And so when they torture test something, what they do is they put like hundreds of rounds simultaneously through it to see if it will malfunction. And they'll, bury it in sand overnight, and they'll bury it in mud overnight, and they'll freeze it in a block of ice, and then see how it performs. And high point, for a very, very affordable firearm, actually did really, really well, very comparative to much higher end firearms. So, don't trust me because I'm not going to do those torture tests. I don't have a high point to work with. Go check out Demolition Ranch. Pretty well trusted source here on YouTube. So see what he said about it. What about accuracy? That would be, the next thing. So we talk about durability, like can it stand up to a lot of abuse? Torture tests seem to indicate that it can. But what about accuracy? Well, most people know of high point through either the handguns or the carbines. Now there's also, they have AR-15s now that have only just recently come out. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But so most people know the carbines and the pistols, which come in several different calibers, 9mm, 45 ACP. I think there's a 380 pistol as well. But here's what I read. And again, I was doing a lot of research on this week. The carbines, pretty accurate at 50 for an average shooter, because again, it's going to depend on your skill level, for an average shooter out to 50 yards. And then still human target size accurate up to 100 yards, which for most of us civilians, it's hard to imagine you're going to have a situation where you're reaching out and touching somebody more than 100 yards, unless we are in a full-blown like Civil War kind of situation. If it's just a home defense situation, you're going to have a hard time justifying why you're taking a shot at somebody as they were running down the road. You're probably going to land in court, even in a state like mine, which is pretty supportive of your Second Amendment rights. So up to, we'll say for an average shooter, up to 100 yards, the 9mm carbine was fairly accurate. Is it going to be as accurate as, like, say, a Daniel Defense AR? Probably not. But for what it is, the price point, fairly accurate. What about the pistols then? Well, the pistols, from testing of people, and they were actually, there's people who are claiming that they used these in IDPA. Let me circle back to that in a second if you don't know what IDPA is. There are people who are claiming that they've used them in IPA and they performed fairly well. There's no evidence that I could find of anybody winning a competition level match with a high point. That would be a fun experiment for somebody who's out there who wants to take this on. Now, the problem you're going to have is that if somebody's at that level of competitive shooting where they're ranked and everything else, they've probably got a sponsor like SIG or Glock or Kimber. And so, they might not be able to do this because they're in an exclusive contract. But for somebody like when I competed in IDPA, and what it is, if you're not familiar with it, is it's a course. So it's better than like going to a static range where you're just kind of, shooting at a target that's not moving. It's a course where you have to use cover, concealment. There's targets that sometimes move. There's targets that are behind cover, so you might only see like the top of their head or the neck up. There's targets that are behind a simulated hostage, so you have to take out the target without hitting the hostage. And it's a competition that's based on you're scored on your accuracy and your timing. Okay. And so it's a high pressure environment, which was really, really good training. If you can do it in your area, I do recommend it for handgun training. It's going to be probably as close as you're going to be able to get to simulating with live actions for a civilian. So when I competed, I was not ranked. I was kind of middle of the pack, right? So most of the guys that were above me were like law enforcement or military with way more experience shooting than I had. But I was middle of the pack. I wasn't like at the bottom. I did okay. Somebody like me who's not ranked, that would be a good person to maybe test this in this environment, but I can't find footage of it. Just people who are claiming that they did this on forums and stuff like that. So what are they saying, and what are other testers saying about the accuracy? Well, the pistol caliber carbine is as we were talking about before, fairly accurate. The handgun is accurate from what I've read, under 25 yards. Pretty accurate. So you might say I'm sorry. Forget I said that. Under 25 feet, pretty accurate. So you might be saying, well, 25 feet, that's pretty close range. Yes, it is. And but most of your home defense encounters are going to be 25 feet or less. Okay. And in fact, it's usually 21 feet or less. So, home invasion, home defense kind of things, pretty close quarters. So you can be the judge of that. If now past 25 feet, people said the accuracy does start to drop off, but it's still accurate to a human target at what did I read? I think I read 40 yards. That's pretty impressive. If it's for an average shooter. Now that's the thing. Your skill of your shooter is going to come into play here, and somebody who's like an excellent shooter, like what's her name? Lena Milichuk. Is that her name? Who's like a high level competition shooter. She's probably could take that high point and be a lot more accurate than 99% of the population. So more affordable firearm isn't going to make her necessarily a bad shooter. Conversely, if you've never shot in your life, or you're an average level shooter like me, or maybe even below average level shooter, using a high-end Kimber is not going to suddenly make you a competition level shooter. It's just not going to do that. Skill has a big play in this as well, right? So durability, really good, actually, from what I read. Accuracy, pretty good for the price point that you're in. So let me check your chat here. I got a couple more points I want to hit on here, and I want to see what people are saying. Again, there's a lot of joking around that goes around in the circles about high point, but I don't know. I've never fired one. I don't know one. Maybe there's a case for them in some situations, and I'm going to talk about those situations here next. Let me say hi to everybody. Okay. Okay, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. Those pickles look good. So this is in a green screen. They do look good though, don't they? I do have canned stuff. This is just not in my recording room here. Scrolling down, just want to make sure I haven't missed out. Okay, I had a high point carbine near a jam. I think there's a typo there. I'm not getting it. So Wayne says the pistols are nearly indestructible. When I had the bad ones was back in the night. Yeah, I think their reputation has improved significantly. I think so. Never jammed. Okay, never jammed. So Utah Mike says that he had a high point carbine and it never jammed. Okay, and Texas Joe, that's kind of where I'm going to go with this. That this might be a solution for some people for certain situations. I that's exactly where I'm going. Stay with me here. But the end, when there is always a new beginning. I'll be honest with you. If you're talking about the end of times, that kind of thing, I'll be honest with you, Chris. If you're new to the channel, I'm prepping for retirement. When people tell me what are you prepping for, I'm prepping for retirement. I hope that I never have to be in some kind of SHTF situation. To be honest with you, Palmetto Paratrooper, thanks for joining. Yeah, we're doing pretty good here. Appreciate you joining us. That is only okay thing about them. They go so Wayne says they go bang. That's the only okay thing about them. Okay, Palmetto Paratrooper says his first firearm purchase was a high point C9. It works if you keep it clean and don't use steel cased ammo. Yeah, that's. Thank you for bringing that up. Ammo is another factor, right? Like, so I've had firearms that it's strange. You don't know honestly until you own it, and then you take it out a few times and you take it on a date to the range and you have fun with it and you treat it well. No, you really don't know like how your firearm is going to respond to different ammo until you've had a chance to use it and put a lot of rounds through it. I've had fairly high-end, mid-end firearms that preferred cheap ammo. They just cycled better with cheap ammo. I've had some firearms that did not like cheap ammo, and including I'm not going to name the brands, but well-known brands that did not want cheap ammo. So it's one of those things, is trial and error. Like, this is why we also say, if you're going to purchase a firearm, don't just purchase a firearm, a box of ammo, and put it next to your bedside thinking I got that prep covered. You got to go to the range. You got to train. I recommend you take some classes with people who are professional teachers. Hopefully they've had some real world experiences. That's even better. But you got to see what's available in your area, and it's money well spent, quite frankly. Training with people who are several levels above you will make you better at it, and you will know your weapon better, and you will be able to clear malfunctions better. That's not something you want to learn when there's a bump in the house in the middle of the night and you realize, oh crap, a couple meth heads are here and they're jacked up on meth and they're looking to not only rob us but probably kill us. Now's not the time to learn how to use your firearm. You should have already done that. Yup, right there. If you lack the skill and you have a fancy arm, you just become a loot drop. Yep, 100%. I prefer Glocks as well. Glock 17 is my go-to. If I could only take if I had to leave here and I could only take one firearm with me, my Glock 17 would be mine, because that's the firearm I've put the most rounds through and that I've had the most training with. I'm not saying it's better than like something else. If you've got a Kimber or a SIG or whatever, I'm not saying it's better than that. That's the firearm that I have the most training with and have the most rounds through. So that's why I would choose that one. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so that's one of the cons against them is they are very, very high points are very, very heavy for what they are. They're kind of built like bricky, that is one of the cons that people say against them. Thank you for chiming in on that. Retirement is fun. That's the goal, brother. That is the goal. That's awesome, Mike. I still got a long way to go. Got a long way to go. But you don't start your prepping for retirement in the last 5 years, right, guys? This is something as preppers we should be financially prepping every day, and hopefully you started that when you're young. But if you didn't, you need to start getting on it. People should be like, if you're young, if you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha, and you're entering the workforce now, immediately start putting money into retirement. I don't have it. I know. Do what you can. I get it. I didn't have it when I was in my 20s either. Money is still often a struggle for us, but you have to put money towards your retirement. You just do. If you can only do $5 a week right now, start with that. It's a good start. Down the road, hopefully you can add more than that. But if that's what you can do, if you only do $5 a month, at least do that. Do something so at least you're starting the habit of it. But you have to financially prep, because if SHTF doesn't happen, folks, and all you've got is people say, like, you can't eat gold. Okay, well, if SHTF doesn't happen and you make it to retirement and all you've got is cans of Spam, good luck. I mean, I guess you can eat Spam every meal for the rest of your life, but I would also like to have some financial assets to survive in my retirement. So I don't think, that's why I say it's not the right thing to say. And I'm not saying you have to buy gold and silver. You have to have some financial plan is what you'd have to do. But when people say you can't eat gold, it's a dumb prep. Okay. It depends on the situation. It depends on what comes out down the road, right? So if we got into zombies, yeah, that gold's probably not going to do you any good. If you make it all the way to retirement and there's no World War III, that basement full of Spam, but you have no savings, no funds, no gold, no silver, no cash, you're screwed. You've now created your own SHTF situation. So both food and financial preps are needed. So, hey, Utah Mike, congratulations, man. That is awesome. Everyone that buys a pistol is also buying cheap ammo. Don't do that with a high point. Okay, good advice there. Definitely heavy. Yep. It's not something I would want to lug around. The carbine. You would have to be strong and competent to run one and be effective. Okay. Yeah, and okay, so Texas Joe, that's a good point. Like, and generally that's been my advice to people when they ask me about firearms is like, how much do you have to spend? $250. Okay. Unless you think the world is going to end right now, I would wait and save more money and get you into something like a Taurus or a Glock or a Smith & Wesson. You can get into some pretty decent firearms for a few $100s more. They might be used. Some used guns are in really great shape. Field stripping and cleaning was a nightmare. Okay. Thank you, Orlando. So just on Taurus, I've got 2 Taurus revolvers, and and they're great, and I love my Taurus revolvers. I had a third one that was one of the polymer ones, and it might have just been that gun. It might not have been even like that whole line of guns, but just that gun. I didn't like it. It didn't. A revolver should feel to me really smooth. It had a like really crunchy trigger. Some of you guys will know what I mean by that. Like the trigger felt really, really crunchy. I ended up selling that one. But the other 2 are great. I've got a Taurus Judge. That's great. It's fun, really fun pistol, fun revolver. And I've got a Taurus 38 Special. That's really fun. Yeah, if you guys could, if you're enjoying the conversation tonight, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps me out a little bit. Maccabeus, how are you doing? It's good to see you. NPC person, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate you. Welcome. Zulu Visky, women can't drive. I don't know what you're talking about with that, but I assume you're joking around, man. I'll be honest with you. Mrs. Sarge is a better driver than me. She knows it too. She's a better driver than me. Well, there you go. That's my preference as well. Yeah, I'm not surprised rural YouTube does me like that. But so I was talking about your video at the start of this one is actually what inspired me to do a little research on this and talk about it. Prepping for the apocalypse and not prepping. Yeah, I mean, I think you need to do both. You need to think about short term, long term, short duration SHTF stuff, big stuff. It's hard because when you start out, it feels overwhelming, right? But you just got to kind of pick away at it. Most of the channels that are running content, we've been doing it, if not our whole lives, for years. So, just do the best you can. You pick away at it, stay on a budget. Don't blow your credit card on preps. I think that's a bad idea. Education and retirement are my number one prep. There we go. All right. Thank you, Orlando Prepper. Appreciate that. Kane Corso, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. Welcome. All right, I'm just scrolling down here. I want to see if I got more. There we go. I bought the High Point for $100 because I was renting a house in a neighborhood where they beat a pizza man to death for free pizza. Yeah, that's Palmetto. I'm kind of going to get into that here in just a second about like who are the people that this might be beneficial for. I have a Glock 19 Snubnose 38. Is that enough for SHTF? It depends. Like, are you, if you're thinking about for home defense, probably one for you and your partner, your spouse, and if you're thinking, you have to bug out, do you want to have something for your vehicle that's a little bit, more firepower? Are you in a rural area? Or, you then maybe you need a shotgun for managing game and things like that, and predator game. Are you in a city like me? Maybe you need to think about, an assault rifle, in case things get really wacky. If you can't have an assault rifle in your area, then what are some other options? Maybe a lever action gun. Those can fire really fast, something like that. There's different options that, people who can't get access to, like an AR, a lever action. If I couldn't have an AR, maybe like a Henry lever action, probably be my choice. I appreciate that, Rural. Thank you. XNYC, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Nick, if I didn't say hi earlier, thank you. Wyatt, it's good to see you. Wyatt says High Points are garbage. Mucknav says the best use for High Point is a boat anchor. So y'all are cracking me up. So the gun store that I was talking about earlier, he made a joke about, like, well, I guess if you got into trouble with somebody invading your home, you could throw the High Point at them, which is kind of talking about like that they are kind of heavy and brick like. So that's the advantage of them, is that like they pretty much, you pull the trigger and it goes bang. They're not complicated. Wheel guns are not complicated. And I think that's the advantage of them, not necessarily like that I would choose that over a semi-auto Glock or a SIG or a Springfield or whatever, but that like there's pros and cons. And the pros with the revolver is like you could take a revolver and slap it into somebody's hand, say point, pull the trigger, boom, and they get the concept of it. It's that easy to learn. Awesome job. I love hearing that. That is an awesome job. 65th Hitman says there is no case for High Point. Okay, what else? I'm just kind of rolling here, seeing if I missed any good comments. Rugers are fantastic Southern Tier Prepper. I love my Ruger 1022. In fact, I'm very, very tempted to get, is it the Mark 3, that 22 LR pistol. I got to fire one once. My friend had one, and it just it fired so beautiful, so accurate. I loved that gun. I've always been tempted to go out and get one of those for myself. Whoa, 10 years worth of shampoo. I don't have to worry too much about that. As y'all can see, I don't have to buy a whole lot of shampoo. Dove Season calls it a yeet cannon. Yeah, and aren't Ruger, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't Ruger and Henry, aren't they like 100% made in the United States? All right, Keltec sub 200. I've never I've heard those are good vehicle firearms. I've never got to shoot one myself. They're pretty cool looking though. Yep, I'm gonna actually be talking about that Lazarus Long in another video that's coming very, very soon. Y'all are cracking me up tonight. Yeah, so I mean, just that. So thinking about like how awkward they are. I'll show a picture here in a second here for maybe some people who've never seen them. How awkward and heavy they are. I think it would be hard to conceal carry it, or at least uncomfortable to conceal carry it. That's cool. Is that the whoops? My click thing wasn't working. Is that the one from trying to think of the manufacturer of that one that accepts the Glock mags? Oh, thank you. I do a lot of public speaking. I'm actually a mental health worker, a therapist, a trauma therapist by trade. So I talk all day long. I talk and listen all day long. But I do some public speaking on mental health topics. There you go, Dove Season. So Dove Season fessed up. It's got the 45. Okay, another good example. So I'm just going to go ahead and start diving into this. So maybe there's a case for like if you needed to stash some weapons in a different location, maybe your bug out cabin that's in some rural area, or you want just want something in your vehicle or something like that, or you've wanted to keep one at your friend's house in case they're on the way to your bug out location. You want to store a couple of supplies at a friend's house, so you're talking about like caching stuff. There might be a case for this, for like a very affordable firearm that you store. And if it gets stolen in the process of an SHTF, you're not going to be completely heartbroken because it wasn't a $1,500 Kimber. You understand what I'm saying? That's one of the cases that I thought of. Okay, the Ruger Mark IV. Yeah, oh, they're so sweet, man. They're so sweet. 12 gauge is a great choice for home defense. In fact, when we have hurricanes here, we get looters. And when we get looters, ye old Mossberg comes out. And that is, I don't usually pull that out, but when there's looters roaming around our city, yep, that one comes out. You think they look kind of silly? Okay. So, y'all are cracking me up. Yeah, air guns. I'm going to be talking about that in a video that's coming up. Palmetto's the opposite of a mental health worker. Yeah, if that's what you can get, because some people are living in areas that they can't get other stuff. If that's what you can get, better than harsh language, right? Better than begging and pleading for your life when you know that meth addict is going to kill you anyways. When you go to stash, it'll stay. So those of you who are new to this is what I was talking about. There's a lot of jokes about High Point. Birdshot is great for against drones. All right. Just remember, if you shoot a drone out of the sky, that is a crime. That's all I'm going to say. There's probably footage of you doing it if you do it. All right. So let me show you guys a picture for those who've never seen it. Just so again, YouTube, like, don't freak out. I'm not showing live firearms here or anything like that. Just calm down. Calm down. Maybe I can't. Why is it not? Okay. Hang on one second. There we go. That'll work. Okay. So this is just to kind of give people an idea what they look like. All right. Not the most attractive firearms, right? Obviously that's the carbine, And the one in the middle there, that's the 45 ACP pistol. And then the one on the to the left of that is the 9mm pistol. But that's basically what the carbine looks like. All right. And then I have one more picture to show you here. So bear with me here one more second. I think I need a new mouse. Share screen. There we go. All right. So this is kind of cool. Check this out. They just recently released these AR-15s, and they take 5.56. They have the pistol length version, which is 10.5 inches. Again, not every state's going to let you have the cool stuff, kids. Sorry. My advice is move out of one of those states if they don't let you have freedom. But I know you can't all. I know everybody can. I get it. I understand. And I used to live up in Massachusetts, so I know what it was like. I really do, and I have empathy for you. 300 Blackout is also available, and these are going to be coming in at under $500, folks. Now, I will say, and it's got the rails and everything. So somebody, maybe one of you firearms channels out there, needs to get your hand on one of these. See if you can rent it or contact High Point. See if they'll, make some kind of arrangements at a range or something like that for you to rent it or use it at their expense. Somebody needs to test this thing out. So the one on the bottom is the pistol. Obviously, that's a collapsible brace. Again, check the legality for your state. And that is the full-size rifle there, which is, 16-inch barrel. 16-inch barrel. So, all right, let me get out of here. I just thought that was kind of cool that now they're delving into AR-15s. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to test it out. Maybe Demolition Ranch will get his hands on one or something like that. How heavy are they? How accurate are they? How much can they take a beating? It might be worth checking out. Now, could you get into an AR-15 for another brand at $500? I've seen it. That's a decision you have to make. But let's take the AR-15 out of the picture here for a second. And if you were, let's say that you were the type of prepper who is not only thinking about hurricanes and loss of job and those like short tornadoes, short-term things. Maybe you're the type of prepper who's thinking about long-term scenarios and civilization is really breaking down. And you're going to have some family and friends that are coming to your homestead. Okay. Do you have enough money to put a rifle and a sidearm in each of their hands? Most people are going to say no, right? Most people are going to say no. It is not outside the, if with a little bit of money and a little bit of resource or savings, it's not outside the realm of possibility for a middle-class income person to get 10 carbines and 10 sidearms, for the people that your family and friends are showing up at your homestead if the big SHTF happens. So you're talking about, to do that, let's say you got 10 of each. You're looking at under, hang on, math. Under $5,000-$6,000, you could probably pull that off. Under $5,000 or $6,000. Now, if you wanted to do that with, like, say, Glock and, we'll say a Palmetto State Armory AR-15 and a Glock for everybody, for 10 of those each, you're looking at probably between $10,000 and $12,000. That's probably closer to 12 to be able to do that. So a couple instances we've come up with here: as a stash gun, as a stash firearm, I need to arm my neighborhood or the people that are coming to my area. Starts to see some possibilities here for why, in some circumstances, this might be worth a second look. Now, this video is not endorsed by High Point or anything like that. They're not paying me to do this. I don't have any affiliation with them or anything like that. I'm not interested in building a brand relationship with them. This was just something I thought of after I saw Rural's video. Kind of made me think about a few things that, like, maybe there's some purposes for this for some people. What about for the person who is like really in some kind of a bad situation? They are living in a really high crime gang war neighborhood and they can't afford to get out right now, and they can't afford a $1,500 Kimber. They can't afford a $600 Glock. Maybe they get something like this with the plan of, I'm going to upgrade later on, and either I'll sell my high point or I'll keep it as a backup. There might be another function for it there, right? So there's definitely some cases that could be made in my mind. You don't have to agree with me. I understand that, for why this is worth maybe a second look, why this might be worth at least consideration for some circumstances, right? All right, I want to check your comments here one more time, and then I'm going to start to wind this one down. I've got a message for you tonight. A good positive message to end with. I think I hit on all the points here. Let me just scroll real quick on my notes, see if I missed anything here. Yeah, we're going to be talking about things like BB guns and black powder rifles and things like that very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'm just checking my notes. I think we hit on most of this stuff. Cool. All right, let's check your comments, and then we're going to go ahead and start to wind this one down. Let me scroll back up here. They weigh 20 pounds. Yeah, they're heavy. They're heavy. If I get filled by... Jeez. Oh, you guys are killing me. If I could put a skeet launcher on a drone, I don't know. Get a 10-pound drum for my 1022. 110-pound drum. Whoa. Yeah, so if you've got those Ruger 1022s, there's some aftermarket magazines. I've got several that are like 25 rounds. All right, scrolling down. Hurts your eyes looking at the pictures. Is it a polymer lower? Oh, good question. I don't know. See if hopefully anybody. I don't have one. So can somebody? It shouldn't be. I think the barrel would have to be steel, wouldn't it? I mean upper. So it's probably, yeah. I'm sorry, screwing this up. I'm assuming you're talking about high point. Yes, the lower would have to be. Let's take a look at it. Hang on. Let me look at the picture again. It looks like polymer. Again, I don't have one, but high impact polymer frame with high impact grips. Hey, believe it or not, they're 100% American parts and assembly. For those of you guys who are like, buy American, there you go. High impact polymer frame and grips. I'm trying to see a little bit about the metal, but it's not telling me. Lifetime warranty also, by the way. And I did read, as I was doing my research on it, I did read some good stuff about their warranty, that people have beat the crap out of them, sent it back in, and their warranty was honored. Mugnav says, buying a high point kind of feels like kissing your grandmother on the lips. It's just wrong. I tried to go a little Ivory. I tried to go a little bit simpler on. I have some pretty complex thumbnails. I'm trying a different thing here where I'm going a little bit simpler on my thumbnails. We'll see how it goes. I think, sometimes I think people look at my thumbnails and they're like, oh, that's, it's overuse of AI or something like that. So I'm trying to back off on that and just do some simplified thumbnails and see how the people respond to those. I love the Mossberg Shockwave, Texas Joe. It is a really fun firearm. Yeah, so Palmetto State Armory. So obviously I live right. This is like where Palmetto State Armory is where I'm at. I've got a couple of them. They're okay. They're okay. The one of mine is a little finicky about ammo. only likes certain kinds of ammo, but I think high-end guns sometimes have that too. Yeah, so if you guys get a chance to test it out, I'm really curious. I mean, I know that within a few weeks there'll probably be some videos of people testing it. Yep. Yep, that's true. You're all getting high points in your Christmas stockings from Rural 2 I see. Oh man. You get what you pay for. I think that's often true. But if I hopefully I've made a case for some people here that if maybe your plan is this is like a backup that I'm storing in my cabin, or this is I'm going to store it at a friend's house in case like I've got to run and that's my stop off point to my bug out location, or this is what I'm going to get and then later on I'm going to upgrade to something that's a little bit more high end, right? Like that's just how I think about it. I don't know that I'm going to run out and buy a high point tomorrow or anything like that. I don't think I'm going to be as harsh on them personally as I would have been before this. SKS is a really fun to play with. Yep. And you would hope so, that there, but not everybody out there does. I know that there's some people who've spoken to me about like, hey, if something bad happens, can I come to your house? Well, I live in the city, folks, so you can try, but if it's bad enough, there's a good chance that Mrs. Sarge and I have gone to one of our bug out locations. We may not be here, so but if you're gonna come, they have the list of what to bring. And that's another thing. If you got people who are saying that, and they're people like, okay, yeah, I probably would take this person in, their family or friends or whatever, if things get that bad, I'm not going to turn them away. Then give them the list. Okay, then if you're going to show up, this is what you need to bring, right? All of your medications, at least one rifle, one sidearm, enough ammo for yourself, whatever food you can carry, 3 sets of clothes, like you got to give them a list. Bedding, because you might not have any bedding for them. I've told people, well, okay, if you show up, but if there's a lot of people that are here, you're going in a tent in the backyard. Sorry, like this is not a hotel. I'll do the best that I can. And honestly, this is probably not the best location for you to come if SHTF, because I'm probably gone if it's that bad. Yeah, so the Maverick brands, in my opinion, aren't that bad. I don't own one, but I've shot some. High point is better than no gun at all. I agree with that. Hey, Angie, it's good to see you. I hope you're having a good weekend. Appreciate you. Yeah, and those Mavericks are at a good price point too. And a rental and go to an arsenal and own my own rental property in 12. Yeah, so I mean, I was at the beginning of the stream, I was talking about my first rifle was a 22 LR. And I want to say, now this is going back several years. You probably wouldn't be able to find a Remington at this price now, but I want to say that it was maybe like 300, 340 maybe, for a Remington. That was back then. I don't know if you could find that now. Which high point would recommend as an all-purpose one? Okay, so if I was going to get one tactical, if I was going to get one, I personally would probably go with the 9mm carbine. That would probably be my choice if I was going to get one. Yeah, that's a great point. Again, it comes down to how much are you practicing, how much are you training, how much time are you putting behind that trigger. There you go. I like that, Orlando Prepper. That's right. And again, remember, we all start somewhere, right? Like, so, we're more of a knife channel here than a firearms channel. I have some knives that are, Mrs. Sarge, if you're watching, block your ears. I have some knives that are worth over $200. I didn't start with, I think I just got a text from Mrs. Sarge. I didn't start with that. I think my first, couple knives that I bought for myself were probably in the $35 range or whatever. Oh my gosh. No, I am not military, Steve Randall. It's a nickname. Thank you for joining us, by the way. Appreciate you. Let's see. I'm hoping to find a high point which is ugly and chunky, but industry. Yeah, that's as far as like the torture testing and stuff like that, they did fairly well. Like they, and I didn't expect that when I was researching this. Polymer receivers suck. They don't do good with the I'm sorry. I totally misunderstood the conversation before. You all were talking, so I thought you were asking about the handguns. Hang on. Let me see if it says on the AR-15s. I am so sorry. I misunderstood y'all. I'm looking to see if it says. The HP-15s is what they're calling them, are built on forged receiver sets, including a 6-position buffer tube. Okay, they're brand new. The article that I've got here is not crystal clear on it. It sounds like it's metal. The picture, as I blow it up a little bit, here I can show you guys. The picture looks metal to me. So again, brand new, so somebody's gonna have to dig into this one a little bit more. Share screen. All right, hang on, here we go. I think that's metal. It sounds like it. It sounds like it. So I misunderstood what you guys were asking me before. When you're talking about the lowers, I thought you were talking about the handguns, the sidearms. My bad. If you want a high point against a thug if you have a high against you win, yours is clean. Yeah, maintaining your firearms, super important, and training, trigger time. How much time are you putting into it? How much time you're practicing? How much professional training have you had? Because when you have a third party watching your form and your trigger pull, you're going to learn a lot more if that person's a professional than if you're just going and you're trying to like, okay, well, I was a little bit to the left. Why did I do that? Having a professional trainer that actually knows why you did that and what's wrong with your trigger pull is going to fix a lot more problems. That's what it's worth. If you can afford it, it's worth investing in good training. Yeah, keep it clean. Keep it clean. I like Tauruses, as we said before. Okay. Yep. So yes, I'm sorry, guys. I misunderstood what you guys were asking me. Hey, Freedom, you're probably a good person. You got a good channel to test this out. See if you can get your hands on one of these high point AR-15s. I'd love to see what you can do with it. I'm curious. Yeah, sometimes you get a higher end firearm that's finicky as well. I'm not against AKs. I had an AK. I sold my AK because I wanted to go. I used that money to get into a 308. Lot of knockdown power with an AK round, and very, very reliable in extreme conditions. For the amount of accuracy drop for what I would say is the average shooter like myself, it's probably not that noticeable. If you're a really good shooter, if you're experienced, you probably would notice an accuracy drop out past 50 yards or so. Not saying it's not accurate past 50 yards. Of course it is. It's been used by, it's probably the most used rifle in the world. But a really experienced good shooter is going to notice a difference between the AR and the AK in accuracy. So there's trade-offs, right? The AR might be a little bit more finicky if you get some mud in there and things like that, whereas the AK is probably going to handle that a little bit better. My AK that I ended up selling took any kind of ammo, the cheapest possible ammo that you could find, it could take it. And it was from Czechoslovakia, and it looked like, I don't know how it got into the United States and into a gun store, but it wasn't before you ask, no, it wasn't an automatic. It looked like it had been through a war zone. Yeah, yeah. You can get into some good firearms for a good price. All right, scrolling down here a little bit. Makes sense to cash. Yep. I review BCA uppers all the time. They're in $200 over. Great. Okay. Yeah. If you guys want to see some good firearm testing, check out Freedom by Me's channel. In fact, if somebody can, before we close this one out, if you could drop a link for Freedom by Me, a clickable link, that would be great. I appreciate it. Also, check out Wayne and Steve's channel too. Wayne is Becoming Dangerous, and Steve is Corsair Trainers. They do a lot more firearm content than I do. Abused for 20. Awesome. Love to hear that. All right. I think I'm going to keep scrolling here. Semi 308 Remington Model 4. Nice. Nice. I like it. So the interesting thing about 380s, a lot of people knock on 380s. The 380 ammo that's produced today, like the defensive ammo, not necessarily like your target ammo, but your defensive ammo, is actually has the same stopping power as the 9mm ammo that was produced in like the 80s. Okay. So it's got more punch than people think. Yeah, so exactly, Palmetto. Like I've never fired one, but I just kind of believed all the hate because that was what was told to me. So Steve Randall says, scariest thing to think about. What if you after you die, your widow sells your guns and knives for what you said you paid for them? So you need a tool to take the slide off. I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean it's not too surprising. Glock is so common that it's probably also the most stolen gun, so that doesn't surprise me. Shotgun and AR, which I'll kit out and be the most expensive part of my use of Glocks. I think you're good there. I think those are good choices. If you were going to add one more, I would throw in a 22 LR. Successful criminals carry Glocks. Virginia Bushcraft, how are you doing tonight? I love AKs, totally awesome. They're fun to shoot, that's for sure. Yeah, an AR has definitely become the most popular rifle in the United States, which is another case for like if you needed to find parts or ammo, that kind of goes more on the side of AR than AK. All right. Let's assume you're going to be static. Yep. To get the slide sucks. Yep. Just reading about your stuff about what people are chiming in here. Yes, unfortunately, people are illegally modifying the Glocks in some cases. Yes, that doesn't help us in the 2A community when stuff like that happens, because it just gives the politician gun grabbers misinformation to use against us. Yeah, appropriate use of force is probably that needs to be a whole topic. Ex NYC OG prepper, that needs to be a whole topic of its own. Appropriate use of force. I agree. I like pepper spray. It's a good choice. Less lethal. Good option. Good to have options, right? All right. I think I'm mostly caught up here. So, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead. Please check out Freedom by Me's channel for some more firearms content. Becoming Dangerous, and also Steve, Corsair Trainers. Now, last thing I want to say is I always try to end us here. If you're new to my streams, I always try to end us with a positive message. June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay. For those of you who are new to my channel, you might not know it yet, but I'm a trauma therapist by trade, and I mostly work with first responders. As men, we are often taught from a very young age to suppress our emotions, that you can't cry. If you cry, you're a sissy or a wimp or whatever. And so as a result, we learn to suppress it pretty quickly. And for some of us, it can turn into anger, and then anger can become rage, which is not a healthy thing. Anger can be okay if you know how to manage it correctly. Rage, not so much. It is really important that we learn as men that it's okay to reach out and talk to somebody. If you're not ready to talk to a therapist, no problem. How about a peer that you trust? How about a friend, right? Like, we have to start to, as men, we have to start to be okay with the fact that just bottling crap up and burying it in the pit in our stomach is not good for us or the people around us. Okay. So you have just as much right to take care of yourself, including your mental health, which is just as important as your physical health, as everybody else out there. If you're listening to this and you're raising boys, let's stop this generation. We can end this with this generation by normalizing that, yeah, guys do have feelings too, and we need to be okay that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to cry. I get it that, like, I tell my first responders, yeah, I get it that you can't cry if you pull somebody over and they're arguing with you about your ticket. You can't cry in front of your fire station buddies in some circumstances, but you're still going to have to let it out in some way. So cry in the shower, cry in the bathroom. Us as guys, we're probably going to be more comfortable with that, right? That is where we're at, right? Like, so I can be honestly tell you that, like, I can get to that point where I can get choked up, but like full on crying is really hard for me. And that comes from childhood stuff. That comes from like learning that it's not okay to cry. But when I have been able to, the times when I have been able to like have a full on cry, not just get choked up, but a full on cry, guess what, guys? It feels better, because you know what happens is when you cry, you actually you're producing and releasing in your brain oxytocin. What's oxytocin, Sarge? Well, oxytocin is actually a feel-good neurotransmitter. It's chemically the exact same neurotransmitter that you're getting when you hug a loved one. So you're literally giving yourself a hug when you allow yourself to cry. Okay, guys, too many men are committing self-harm out there and unaliving themselves. I know we can't get that realistically. I know we can't get that number to 0, but we can get it down. Okay, don't be afraid to reach out to help. If you don't want to talk to a therapist, talk to a friend, but don't just suffer in silence. We have to stop that with this generation. All right. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, everybody in chat. You guys are awesome. Best audience ever. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And I will not be live next week. I will not be live next week, but I will have a video for you. Okay. So y'all have a great weekend, and I will catch up with you hopefully the next week. Definitely the week after that. I'll explain to you what I'm doing when I get back with you live. Okay. Hey, everybody, keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge. Have an awesome weekend, folks. Hit the like button.